Hey, hey, welcome to another episode. I am Dagny.
Welcome. I'm Damali.
And in this episode, we want to continue our conversation about AI. If you recall, our previous episode was part one, where we're talking about ethics and values and how are we going to navigate that as active consumers of AI. In this episode, we wanted to extend that discussion and speak on the types of regulations that are needed or coming into place when it comes to AI and discuss how to possibly prevent AI from being used as a weapon. So, a lot of times, you who are listening, possibly the only AI you've heard of is ChatGPT or Copy AI, and noting like, oh, it's being utilized to type stuff or it's being utilized for images, but it's actually being utilized for a whole bunch of other things. And there's already been cases coming up of how it's being used to possibly harm people or to make fake stuff, which then also leads to harm. And that's where like legal stuff comes in too. So that is what we're discussing in this episode. So to start, I wanted to start first laying the foundation of what types of things has AI been utilized that has caused harm, which is started the conversation about, okay, what are we going to do about regulations? How is like everyone's different legal system going to navigate having AI being part of the crime scene in some shape or form? So here are some examples of what has already occurred. Earlier, and all of these actually happened this year. So that shows how fast certain new things can be used to be a problem. So, and I'm doing in the order that I'm doing this in, there's no hierarchy. It's just like, this is what I noted, and that's the order it's going to be coming out. So the first thing is in the music industry. So not sure if you had heard about this, but someone utilized AI to create a song that sounded like the artist Drake and the artist The Weeknd had done a duet. And the way in which this person utilized AI was that it made the AI collect and gather all the data of the music catalog of both of these artists, and then used that to create a song that the composition and the music sounded like it could be that artist. And the vocals in that track sounded like it could be that artist. Now, here's the thing. The person who did this actually announced that, hey, you guys, look what I could do with AI. This is what I did. And I posted it so you can listen to it. And wow. So technically speaking, I don't think the person was trying to pretend to be the artist or take anything away from the artist. It's possible maybe this was kind of like how you have fans will create artwork for the artist that they love, right? So it's almost like maybe it was a fan trying to utilize AI. But of course, since it went viral, the agencies and the labels of those artists got word of it. And then it was immediately, with immediate effect, pulled from every streaming platform online. So you actually cannot find this song anymore. It is nowhere to be heard or seen. Now, I don't know what they did with the person because the news kind of didn't follow through yet of like, did they sue them? Did they like hit them with a fine or anything like that? But it did cause started discussions on, okay, so music industry, what are we going to do about this? Because artists are going to have to somehow prevent this from happening. And then I'm going to do the examples, and then we're going to go into what those options could look like. Yeah. Okay. So that's the first option, music industry. The next example, earlier this year, Tom Hanks, the actor, had to announce that there is a advertisement that looks like him that is endorsing a dental care product, and he had nothing to do with it. Meaning the commercial was AI. His likeness was used to make it look like he was in the video in this commercial when he had nothing to do with it. His agency had nothing to do with it. And they basically just utilized his likeness for that advertisement. Again, the fake ad was taken down, but of course it was after the fact, as in after his agent and him got word of it, then they had to go into like, wow, take it down. We did not endorse this. Tom Hanks did not get paid for it, and he was not asked permission to even use his likeness for that video. Now, both of those examples are, okay, you're using people's likeness for maybe just for the product, maybe for endorsing, which is more on the lines of, okay, you're just using you're using people's likeness for fake endorsements. Now here's some examples where things get a little more, let's say, sinister or even more creepy. Where if you've watched the show Stranger Things, I still have not watched the last season, so don't judge me. I still need to watch it. I still do. I love the show though. Love the concept. Someone used AI to make it seem like two of the actors in Stranger Things were in a porn video together. Again, they did not give permission for this. They were not asked for permission. They were not endorsing it, nothing. And then again, after the fact, once the clip goes viral, once their agent or they get word of it, then, okay, now you need to go into take it down. Why would that be there? Completely violating these actors' agencies and themselves and their autonomy. Yes. So that was done. Now you can only think that if it was done with actors, the only reason why we heard about it was because it was celebrities' likeness being used, which means it's possible that this has already been done with using the likeness of regular people who don't have as much following. So their video may not go viral. And there's possibly people don't even know that their likeness is being used in this way. Another example of this is that somebody decided to use AI and take images of Muslim women. Now, these are images of people who they just post on their Instagram, post on their Twitter, regular people, not celebrities, but Muslim women who wear the hijab or the burqa, they are the ones who follow the deal of being covered completely. This person took AI, took their photos and created images to make it seem like they're naked in the photo and posted those photos. Now, even though technically speaking, the AI will only generate what it's guessing these people would look like naked. So technically, it's not really their naked body, but it's a complete violation of these women because not only it's a double violation because not only is you're showing women naked when they did not give you permission, but you make an active effort choosing to target Muslim women who were dressing modestly already and making images to make it look like they're naked. And so that is another sinister thing that, yes, that went viral because other people in the Muslim community went on Twitter and was like, this is terrible. You need to ban, we need to continue posting to ban that account sort of thing because they're regular people. They're not celebrities. So it's not like they can get an agency to do it sort of thing. Now, whether or not that was followed through, I think it took a while for that to happen, which means the damage was already done because lots of people already saw those photos before they were finally banned or taken down. So this is the spectrum when it comes to what types of things people, because all of this is not the AI doing it by itself. It's not like it decided to just start streaking and doing something on its own. All of this is humans deciding, people deciding to utilize AI almost kind of like a weapon in different forms. Okay? All right. So those are the examples. So now we can get into the discussion now that you understand that these are the types of things that are starting to happen with these AI tools. What sort of regulations, what sort of thinking, what sort of protocols are now having to be developed after the fact to try and prevent from these sorts of things happening again? So, Damali, I would like to start now, throw it back to you. And listening to these examples, as well as other things that you possibly have heard too, what do you think needs to be, as being active consumers, what needs to be happening now? What sort of things need to be discussed or put in place to prevent this type of harm from happening?
Yeah. To first to piggyback off of, since we always be piggybacking off of things. Yeah, there was another thing that AI just, it's like when we first heard about it, it was such a cool thing to to look at, and then now it's just like, oh, but they're humans dealing with it. Oh, then this is when this gets creepy. Yeah, the AI, the thing that I think I hadn't heard of the Tom Hanks thing, the Stranger Things thing that you brought up, but I have. So I'm a big like K-pop fan, and K-pop fans can be quite passionate, as they say, and sometimes I've seen AI pictures of K-pop stars with babies, and as far as I know, these K-pop stars do not have babies in real life. And so like fans are like, oh, whoa, look, that like it's such a beautiful, some of them are like, oh, it's so beautiful. The others are like, this is really creepy. Why are you putting fake babies as an AI person kind of thing? And then sometimes you've seen the K-pop star by themselves, and I'm like, oh wow, what a great picture. And then you look close and you're like, oh damn, that is not real kind of thing. And I think that oh damn moment is like that's kind of an issue too, where it's like even for people that are not actively trying to do make AI images of people, even me looking at it, you have to double take to check that oh this is not real. And I think we have to be careful with the AI thing where we always know what's human and what's not. Like we need to make sure that's not blurred because that can cause a lot of problems if people think, oh, is this really you? And then it's like, oh, it's actually not, right? And also it's worse because like it's bad enough like when you have the he said she said thing, right? Where it's like, oh well, so and so said this about you, and then you don't ask them. You're like, oh well, why did you say that about me? It's like I never said that, that kind of thing. This is like having AI into makes it even worse because then you could take someone's voice and put it somewhere and be like, this is what you said. And you're like, I didn't say that, but it sounds exactly like you, but it's an AI. So obviously that can be a problem, right? For anyone, for celebrities, I mean, obviously it's a huge deal for, celebrities because they're always being like targeted or stuff like that. But for normal people where there's not enough time to prove that it wasn't you, it could be an issue. And the same thing of when you go into like the justice system and, court cases and lawyers and stuff. If you start putting AI stuff into this will be a problem. And a whole lot of people are going to be getting in trouble for things that they did not do, but well, there's a picture of you. So, so yeah, it's one of the things where at first it was kind of cute, doing the AI thing, but then it always ends up exploding and becoming something really creepy when it doesn't have to be. And then obviously, also that there's a privacy part, although many people think privacy is kind of gone anyway because of all the information we have of everybody online and cameras and stuff. But I think the AI thing it gets into a private thing in a different way because it's like even though it's not you, but if you see a picture of it looks like you and it's like saying things like you, it's kind of like it kind of feels like it's an invasion of privacy, even though it's not exactly you kind of thing. So and then obviously the fraud, right, and copyright and all of that stuff can get out the window if you can just use AI to pick up the information, right? And then I also heard this thing about, I think that it was some years ago where something with Siri or something, where someone wanted to bury a body or something like that. I don't know. They wanted to do something harmful with Siri, and Siri was able to, like, I think they took forever to find the body because Siri is so good at hiding it. And so they had to go back and reprogram Siri where you can't ask Siri to do scary stuff. Like you can't ask Siri, like, how do you bury all these bodies? No, you cannot do that. Okay. So that, that's an issue. There's also another thing. Well, this is a little bit different, but it was with Alexa. And I think it was something where I don't know why we would. I mean, Siri makes sense because whose name is Siri? Like, there's not a lot of people that are, but Alexa, like, I think there was something about a husband and a wife having a private discussion, but then somehow the name Alexa came up, or I don't know what happened, and this discussion was sent to a colleague or a friend, and it was a private discussion, right? So when you're having private with your significant other, you don't want everyone knowing about it, and so Alexa leaked it to wherever without realizing, oh, okay, so that another thing. So it's like we have to be very careful and like I think many of the things Dagny was saying about it's always after the fact, like after the damage is done, then we go back and we have to reprogram. Where like we need to be able to, is the word preemptive? Is that what's the word I'm
Or
looking for?
preventive.
We have to take preventative measures, right? Like they always say, like when you're on a plane, like these are the preventative measures that you take. Make sure you have your seatbelt. You already have everything you need to be safe before something happens, right? And I feel like AI needs this as well. So that I guess that would be one of the ways to solve this issue, is that we have to think of possible problems before they happen, so that we can have regulations and laws or guidelines in place to stop that happening. Where it's like, if something is used to create harm, or something that can be harmful or uncomfortable or painful or whatever to someone, it's blocked, like before you get to, before AI gets to do that kind of thing. Right, like so you already need, like, there already needs to be security stuff, kind of like I guess kind of like computers and your phone, where there's a password in it already, right? Where it's like, the moment you even get someone else's phone, you already are blocked unless you have a password. So that could be like similar to the AI thing, where you need to, like, there needs to be a certain level of questions or a certain level of guidelines where you can't use AI to do bad things, because we already thought about it in advance. And it's sad we have to do this. Like, obviously, it would be nice if people would just not do creepy or bad things, but and even like, with the fan thing with Drake in The Weekend, like the fan is probably like, oh, wow, this is so cool kind of thing, but we all know that sometimes fans are great, but sometimes they can go kind of overboard with the things that they do. And I think if we have the AI, especially for fans who are not really, like, if we're talking about creepy stalker type, fans, having AI in their hands can potentially be an issue, right? Because then you can use that to, pretend you're with someone that you're not, kind of thing. And so we have to be careful with what we well, I guess we have to police it, right? Like, or just take the measures before to deal with AI. And then also it makes me think of how we need to make sure that it doesn't become dangerous, the way that, like, if you think about like money, for example, I always think it's interesting how, like, with money is not like like, money is made on paper. Like, it's literally a piece of paper that we assign importance to, and people go crazy over it. People fight over it. Blood is over it, like all this stuff, but it's just a piece of paper. But we made it into this like crazy thing, right? And I feel like we have to be careful with that. We don't, I guess, do a similar thing to the AI thing, where we make this thing that's supposed to be, because the reason we did the whole paper and money thing was to have a form of currency, right? To, like, okay, like, I work for this, I give this an exchange. Like, I give you this, and then you give me fruit, or I give it. But before, it used to be like exchanging like food or clothes or things like that, or, well, in some ways, people. That was not good either.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, an exchange of something to get something, and money is used for that. And now sometimes we don't even have it with paper. It's like what's the Bitcoin and the the money where you're not even touching it. So it started out as a good thing, and then people start fighting over it and stuff like that. We have to be careful that figure out a way to not, or lessen the chance of that happening with AI. Like, it's like we can't like make this great thing and then it just becomes our worst enemy, and this like huge dangerous bully man, and there's all this blood everywhere because it became something really bad. But I think, we need to figure out some way to control it. I guess similarly to the way with like phones and computers and stuff. There's many different things we try to do to protect people, right? Like the password, the two-factor. I think Google. I mean, sometimes it can be a problem if you forget your password,
Right.
but I mean, that's good. Like, if you have
the
a system that,
authentication stuff.
yes,
Right.
yeah, the authentication, like on Google, like if you have a system that like it will almost block you because they don't know. I don't know if you're really who you say you are. That's probably good secure. Annoying, because if you forget your password, it sucks. But like, it's good to have this authentication, so I know that you're not doing weird stuff, kind of thing. AI has to have that too. It has to be. I mean, we're kind of in the beginning stages of it, but we really have to, and even more so, I think, because I think AI, you can do more messed up, creepy stuff than you can with like computers, or leaking people's emails, or or trying to be like, oh, I have something on you, so if you don't give me this, and I'm gonna tell everybody about this. AI will heighten that issue even more, because you can have the thing literally look like the person that you're talking about, which can be a really big problem in your life, right? Especially if it's like following you, like enemy of the state, Will Smith style, like, you know what I mean? Where it's like someone can completely take your identity and really completely take your identity with this AI stuff, right? So yeah, so I guess that I suppose that'll be one side of it is, yeah, I don't know what exactly to call those security measures, but we definitely have to make certain ones that are, I guess, in some unique to AI because it's such a different form of technology. So yeah, so that's my first point I would bring up to it is like, what are the security or preventative measures we need to find them so that we can safeguard AI and creepy people can't be doing creepy things with it, or we can lessen the chances of that.
Right. Yeah. I do like that in terms of focusing on creating or inventing the preventative part of it. Because I do agree that the damage that can be done is even more amplified against people who are not public figures or celebrities.
Yes.
And don't have a whole team and agency running this kind of stuff for them. So like your own, like enemy of the state, where you're a civilian, you're a regular person, and your identity is picked up in a way that the amount of time it will take for a real person or regular person to fix that, to get law enforcement involved or to get the real evidence, so much damage already and so much of their life would have been taken away from them already, especially if it's like you're being framed for a crime and now you are incarcerated because of it. Like then once you get into that, and we already know that system, even without AI, takes so long to get out of if you were actually innocent. So it will just further amplify or further emphasize injustices, unfortunately, for people who don't have that backing to be pulled out of it or prevented from happening at all. I would also take note that, like for the music, okay, for two of the examples. So one for the music example, I remember when it was happening and I was looking at, okay, the discussions that were happening about, wow, what does this mean for the music industry? How are they going to deal with this? And how is like the legal side of things going to deal with it? And so I actually did contribute to some of these discussions. Fun fact. So what I was noting, fun fact, part of my background is also in law. So I do have a law degree, and the part of law that I really enjoyed was intellectual property, which is exactly what this case would be a part of, where you are utilizing AI in music without the permission of the people you used it for. If you brought a case against the person who did this, what are you talking about? Like, because technically none of the courts here in any part of the world have dealt with AI. And technically you can't take AI to court. It was a tool similar to, we're not taking guns to court because it's a tool as a weapon. You're taking, you know what I'm saying? Like you're taking the people.
In trouble.
Exactly. I mean, unfortunately, if we took guns to court, I feel like, a lot of problems could be fixed, but I digress. So in this case, like for the music one, with using AI to create a fake song, making it seem like two artists did a duet, I noted that in court, how this works is that you need to find cases that give precedent. So if you've seen like movies or shows where they're all talking about, but what's the precedents? And we need the precedent and stuff that they're speaking to. Are there previous cases that dealt with a similar problem? And how did the court rule in that way? And if they ruled in a certain way for that, then your side is claiming you should rule the same way for this because it's a similar problem. So the discussions that were happening was like, well, if no court has done AI before, what other case are you going to look at for such a problem? And I thought, or took note of, because IP law is like, oh, yay, I'm geeking out on this, was that the song was using likeness. That was the main issue, was that it's using the likeness of these artists, is using the likeness of their music. So how court has previously dealt with that is back in, I think, the early 2000s and early 2010s with video games, in particular sports video games and basketball video games, where companies like Nintendo and things like that, we were making a lot of money with creating these games where you can play your favorite basketball player in the game. Initially, the actual basketball players were getting nothing for those games. So their likeness was being used. The only reason why everyone's buying these games is because they want to play their favorite basketball player. So the basketball leagues took these video game companies to court and noted that you need to be giving our basketball players credit because you're utilizing their likeness. They're using the different tricks they do to give to score the point or run or whatever. All of that was in the game. So, and these were basketball players, but in particular, I think it was professional NBA, but also college basketball players were being utilized for this. So at that time, what the court ended up ruling was that, yes, the basketball players do deserve credit. You are using their likeness without their permission. You're using their likeness for profit, and that goes against IP law. And so then the video game manufacturers had to pay up front to these basketball players, and then subsequently with every other video game, there had to be an agreement with each player that's in the game, and they will be given compensation because they're in the game. So that's what if we ever ended up seeing that, we're going to have people taking these AI generated stuff to court. That's the type of data or precedent that you might be hearing of how are music artists going to take these things to court, and how could they have a claim to you taking up all their catalog and their voice? Like, imagine someone used AI and tried to make it seem like, here's a new song by Michael Jackson that we never heard before. Like, do you understand how Michael Jackson's estate would like completely shut that down, as well as make sure the person never works again? Because you're using his catalog and his likeness, which technically is already out there for the AI to use. But that's not allowed because you didn't get the artist's permission. And because it's an artist, the artist needs to be getting compensated or royalties or whatever from that. Now, a second example when it comes to the preventative measures and regulations. Now, as of recording of this episode, the EU is now in the process of putting out the very first AI Act law on this planet. So this is very important because ain't nobody else have done this, right? So with all these examples that I had mentioned earlier, the recurring question was, okay, so who's going to put that law out? Like, who's going to write this legislation? We're all saying we need something, but are we doing it? So the EU has put something together that I think now is in their parliament to sign off to now be fully a thing. And I wanted to share a few snippets of what that is, just to get a sense of like, what direction are we going in with this? So the way they are utilizing their AI Act is that they are organizing it by risk level. So they are putting AI into different categories of risk. And then if you fit that criteria for the risk, a certain consequence happens. So for example, the biggest risk is called unacceptable risk. And this is where if the AI system is considered a threat to people, it is automatically banned without any negotiation or back and forth. And the examples they give are any sort of AI system that's causing cognitive behavioral manipulation of people or vulnerable group. An example they give is having a voice-activated toy that encourages dangerous behavior in a child. They also will automatically ban any AI systems that create social scoring, meaning classifying people based on behavior, socioeconomic status, or personal characteristics, which does align with what we spoke about in the previous episode when we're talking about AI being biased in terms of it's not going to work because I'm Black, or it's not going to work because my face is a woman, so it's glitching or causing a problem, or it's automatically flagging you as a criminal because of what you look like, as opposed to data for evidence. And then also and then also facial recognition. That is apparently going to be an unacceptable risk that will automatically be banned. But of course, they claim there will be some exceptions allowed, depending on what it is and depending if the court approves it. Then they go down and say, okay, the next level is high risk, which has two categories. One is any AI system that is producing something that has to do with toys, aviation, cars, medical devices, and lifts will have to go through the product safety legislation, like how regular products in that category has to. And then the second one has to do with if it's a high risk and falls in this categories, it needs to be registered in a database. Remember, this will be the EU database because it's the EU trying to figure out how to utilize or trying to figure out how to regulate. There's the word.
There you go.
Yes. I was getting there. Regulate,
almost.
Right? Regulate AI. And for that, the specific areas they are looking at are biometric identification, management of critical infrastructures, education and vocational training, employment, work management, access to self-employment, access to enjoyment of private services and public services, law enforcement, migration, asylum and border control, and assistance in legal interpretation and application of the law. So those sorts of things are considered high risk. They're divided in those two categories, and they will have to be registered in a database in order to claim whether or not they are okay. Which, as you can see, if we're going to be using AI in law enforcement, that can either further emphasize the biases that are already there or make it better. We're going to use AI in migration and asylum and border control. That can also further emphasize all the biases and bribery and exploitation that happens in that industry, or make it better. When it comes to employment, like all these different things is like, it's a great concept, but it also shows that, okay, will the AI really be utilized to better those industries, or is it going to just further amplify the biases that we already have in those industries? Then the next two is generative AI risk. That means anything that's generative AI, which is similar to ChatGPT, must comply to transparency, which means that those types of AI systems must always disclose that it is generated by an AI, and it must automatically prevent itself from generating illegal content, and it must publish data showing that it's using copyrighted data for its training. Now, that is something that, like the examples I noted, if the AI systems that all these people were using to harm people are now have a built-in, like you noted, like a built-in preventative sensor saying, I cannot tell you exactly how to bury and hide this body because I'm not allowed to. I'm an AI. I'm not allowed to tell you that, right? So that is the type of law that they are putting in place. And then the last one is called a limited risk, where it's again complying to minimum transparency requirements, showing that it's to allow the AI system to always make sure that the user and the consumer knows that it is an AI system. That you are interacting with an AI system. This image I made for you is an AI system. I manipulated it, the video content, things like that, which is also trying to prevent the example I noted about the fake Tom Hanks commercial or the fake porn videos. All of those the AI system has to show either audio or visually that this was generated by AI. So as you noted, this deal of, you can generate images to make it seem like someone was somewhere when they weren't, or generate audio making it seem like someone said something when they didn't. This is trying to prevent that by saying, okay, a consumer can flag this to say it's AI generated, but then any AI system needs to be able to flag itself. So saying that this is an AI generated voice recording, and then go ahead and show the recording claiming it's somebody else or not. So that is just to show in the year 2023, how fast all of this has happened. All the examples I gave happened this year. And then because of that, we have AI legislation now being talked about in Parliament. Like, to just show the way technology is, one, how fast technology evolves, yes. But also I feel like this is almost a first, possibly, in terms of the consumer and legislation trying to catch up so we're not behind when it comes to how harmful or not AI could be when it comes to being utilized as a weapon.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. There's really interesting to learn all those facts about what they're doing and everything. I definitely think, like you said about the AI thing we always need to know that it's AI. Like it makes me think of like the watermark thing, like on YouTube videos or on pictures where you put a watermark, so then you know this is not this person's, right? And then if you don't put the watermark, people will come get you to be like, hey, that's not your video. What are you doing? You know, kind of thing. So we need to be able to, and the consumer has to be at the heart of that. Like we need to, because it's for us, right? All of this is being used for us to consume. So we need to be aware of what's happening. So like, it's true. Like if you try to use the AI over something, I'll be like, this is not real, or this is AI. This is like whenever for anything that you try to, it always has that in front of it, so that there's no way that you can mix it up. And it also makes me think of like, I'm a really big anime fan. I've been for like years, over a decade, I've been an anime fan. And like the thing of anime is that like, I mean, yes, you get really into the shows. Like I really feel them. I'm like so into them, but I never forget it's fake. Like there's never a moment where I'm like, oh wow, this could be real. Like, no, I mean, yes, we're discussing real topic because a human made it, but it's the anime. It's like, it's basically just like a bunch of stick figures that ends up being something bigger. Like if we're trying to like break it down kind of thing. So it makes me think of that, where like anime is always like, you never think, oh, maybe this is real. No. And I feel like AI has to be like that too, where like there should never be a time where there's confusion. Like there should never be like a moment of, is this real? There should be never, like at all times you should know this is AI, this is not real, and this is just used to help me in some way. And also to continue on the anime thing, I think with many many storytelling and also I think like a lot of anime shows I've watched too do like really give us a window into how life would be with AI, kind of thing. Which I think we do that a lot, where we use entertainment to show the seriousness of like what could happen if we did this kind of thing. And there are a lot of like kind of dystopian type anime stuff that I like to watch, where we see how they have their whole world is already AI. There's already AI robots. They're living with it, and there's always this kind of tension, I guess, between real humans and robots. There's always this thing of like, how can they work together without it becoming a huge explosion? Like, there's always some problem, and there's always like, we have to figure out how can we work together so that we can do things in a way that makes sense. And there's some shows where even like the AI is discussing with the human, like, how do we figure this out, kind of thing. Yeah, so we know that there's always this kind of tension, like how do we use it where it's not used against us, and how do we always know that this is not real. So I like that point. And also about, yeah, and then when you talk about the toys of like having toys telling us what, like, and some toys are already creepy. Like 10 plus years ago, I don't know if you guys know about the Furby toy. It was like this Furby. It looked like this ball of, I don't even know what kind of creature it was, and like the eyes moved, and like when you put your finger in it, like it was like it was kind of cute but kind of creepy. Yeah, like when you left it, I had to put it in my closet because it kept on talking while I was asleep. I was really creepy. Also, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you're a millennial, you need to look up the Furby toys. Maybe you had one, but like those toys were creepy. Okay. Like, and the eyes moved and everything. And even that was creepy. So imagine putting an AI thing in there. Oh my gosh, terrifying. And you don't need that, right? And then like, what are we gonna do? Like some Chucky doll thing coming and like telling us to do creepy stuff? No. Yeah, we already had that. We already saw, I mean, the Chucky doll thing is like super old. Like it's like a horror thing. That's already creepy, and you want to make it into like, no, right? So we need to make sure we don't have, creepy stuff like that or creepy robotic stuff. But at least with that, like when you see the Furby toy, it's not real. Like, you know. So I think it's important that we always know, like the example that I gave with anime, even though you're talking about real things, it's not real. Like there's never a moment of, oh, well, is this a real person talking? No, it's fake. Like, and that needs to always be there. There can never be because if there's any confusion, any murkiness, then that can cause an issue. And like what you said about the law thing, where even without AI, we've seen it many times where people are in jail for things they didn't do, or people aren't in jail for things they did do because of the legal system. So if you add the AI into it, that can get even more murky, because it's very easy to be like, well, this was obviously you were there because, there's an AI. And it's like, no, it should be the AI's like, I am AI, and then pretend to be the other person. You're like, okay, well, we can't use this as a, kind of thing. Right. And, so that's important. And also when you brought up thinking about the sports, I remember those games. Like, what was it? EA Sports. It's in the game. It's like the other thing. I still remember those games, and like where you had to play the game and you pretend to be Michael Jordan or Stephen Curry or like Kevin Durant, like all those, and it looked kind of like them, right? And it was fun. Like I remember in the 2000s, and you'd be like, you play the game, you score, and you're like, oh my god! And then like you even hear their voices in it too, so it's like so fun and everything. But then now I'm older, and I'm like, this is kind of creepy when you think about it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I remember that. Like there was a time where I was Stephen Curry, like I was just on this game, and they do all the moves and everything. And it's true, like if you're using my likeness for something, I should probably know, right? I should probably have some kind of, but I guess years ago it wasn't as big of a deal kind of thing with all of that. But yeah. And yeah, the AI thing, we need to make a big deal of it the same way we make a big deal about copyright infringement, right? Or not using a watermark, or saying you said something that you didn't, or people fact checking you because you said this one thing and then you lie about it's the same way we do that now in the news, especially with everything happening in the world. We need to do with AI also. You need to always be fact checking, always be checking and be like, hey, excuse me, hey, this is not real, or you didn't say this, or this is not what's going on. I know this is AI, blah, blah, blah. Right. So yeah, you kind of, and there's certain like games too, where like there are like guide rules in it, like you can't do weird stuff to your character in the game. There's certain games like people that want to do weird, creepy stuff, but you can't because it doesn't let you in the game, right? And I think right, like it makes me think of like The Sims or something, or like where you want them to walk somewhere but they can't, like there's like a block to it kind of thing. And yeah, and I think it's similar to or when there's blocks on things, or they do like amazing like movies or shows, or sometimes they block out stuff. Like there's certain kinds of, we already have the technology for this. We just have to implement it into AI that like it can't do. If you want to be a freak, well, too bad you can't do it with AI. If you want to be creepy or murderous, you can't do it. If you want to like be like, oh, I want to like, I want to make the whole, how do you blow up a whole planet? No, like you can't use AI to do that for you. Okay, like calm down, right. So there needs to be regulations. And of course, I always go back to anime, because there's like all of this AI stuff has literally been done in anime. Like you guys are slow. No, I'm just kidding. It's easy to put it in like I always get the sense that writers or artists have some form of like they can tell the future. Yeah, prophecy, some form of genius there, because they always can talk about topics that are so like you're not even thinking about them, and then they happen, and then it happens in real life, and I'm like, wait a minute, how do you know? Kind of thing. And I always go into like people always bring up like George Orwell, 1984, right? And how it's like, how did you know that was going to happen? It's like, well, but yeah. And I always go back to that because we have a lot of things that show us that obviously we need to know how to use AI, because like if humans are already fighting amongst each other and you want to add AI to that, okay, let's, and then also, yeah, the weapon thing, the not letting the AI become a weapon. Again, and for it to become a weapon, could be an actual weapon, or we can be saying metaphorically a weapon against us, which would mean like, our likeness being used, or like, without our permission, and people pretending to be us, or faking, or someone who doesn't like you or has a problem with you, and then they use, or a breakup, and they use the revenge stuff. Like I have this and I'm going to show everybody, blah, 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 if you don't, and AI can be used to make that worse if we're not careful with how we utilize it, kind of thing. So yeah, so it's definitely interesting to think about. The fact that they're putting laws in place and all of that shows that people are understanding that, yeah, there needs to be laws, there needs to be regulations. We can't just do whatever with it, because unfortunately humans are great, but also a lot of them are not great. I mean, we all know how many humans can be. So we need to have those in place. And so yeah, so I think that's really interesting points to look into. And yeah, and then now do we want to talk more on that? Or do we want to talk about what would we want AI to do for us?
Right.
So Dagny, what would you want to use AI for in your personal life? You can name some of them and I'll name some to see good things that are not creepy,
Right. Yeah. And I think, and then also to wrap up that one point, of like, even though the regulations and stuff that are coming through, I've also taken out a common thread of how they are also very much based on humans need to flag it. or humans will be the
Yes.
ones supervising and monitoring it, which then kind of ties with what we spoke about in the previous episode of, what will be the criteria of which people can do that, and how will the AI be influenced if their own biases are also into what they are flagging or not flagging, if it's all human oriented. Well, some it can be AI monitoring AI. Like, for example, now a lot of the music streaming platforms have now implemented a algorithm that filters out AI generated music. So it will automatically not allow it to be uploaded if the algorithm is being triggered to be like, we can see this is AI generated. You cannot upload it. So that is an AI monitoring or regulating another AI, as opposed to a human trying to listen. I can't tell. I mean, it does sound like a real guitar. I don't know, like that kind of thing, right? So with some of these laws that I mentioned, where it's like, it's going to need to be a human taking note of like, so is this toy creepy or not? And it's like, okay, like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves in terms of, are you just going to actually, like the music streaming platforms, just try and create AI to monitor the AI itself sort of deal, and you just put the criteria in and it does it like a machine, as opposed to a human? Well, there's an exception to how creepy can be kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. Yes. So in terms of the types of things that I would appreciate AI would be helpful in doing, I mean, when it comes to physical things, it would be helpful if the AI could fold and put the clothes away when it comes to laundry, or for appliances to clean themselves, or appliances to update themselves. So you let me know, like, which I know that there's some smart house appliances that do some of this. Like, there's a refrigerator that can tell you this is your grocery list because I don't have these things inside of me right now because you finished it, sort of deal. But it also would be nice, which I'm sure there's some of that happening, where it's not just microwave, but it's like, the stove can actually cook a wholesome meal for you if you you put it on and then it does everything else, kind of thing. Little things like that. I think the assistant part that does more than just, I can put something in your calendar on your phone, but it's like, could you also actually just maintain some portions of the house automatically? Those are like the smart house type stuff. I feel that it will be nice. More of that is available or accessible without it being an astronomical price, but it also has features in it so that my house doesn't attack me or lock me inside because
Disney,
it's glitching.
Smart house.
Exactly, because it's glitching or it thinks something else, as well as features so that it's not recording me or leaking me talking to myself to random people just because it thought that's what I wanted when I didn't. So that's why I'm of two minds about having those types of appliances in my space personally, because I feel like, yes, it'd be great to have, because I would prefer that than having like a person cleaning up after me. Like, I feel weird about that. I don't know. I prefer to just clean up myself, kind of thing. But if I had a assistant of that kind, where it doesn't have to be a humanoid robot, it's just the appliances themselves just do what they need to do on their own, that would be pretty cool. I think also having an AI feature that helps with organizing and financial literacy in a way that removes the fluff and sensationalism that we have now. Because yes, there's a lot of gurus and there's a lot of tools to claim to get your finances in order, get your investments, get your all this kind of stuff. But a lot of it is either a lot of talk or a lot of, you need to pay somebody to tell you something that possibly was not worth the investment. And a lot of times doesn't necessarily correlate with where you are right now or what your finances are or where you're trying to build. So having AI features that can actually walk you through, okay, this is where you are right now, and here are the options that actually align with you, not a plethora of a Google list of all the different things you can do to make, like, no, it's like, no, this is where you're at, and this is your skill set, and this is where you want to be, and these are your options for passive and active income, or these are your options of, okay, you have this money, here's how you can invest it and save it in a real way, and we've already calculated the risk for you, and this is the exact percentage risk that will happen. I feel being able to be smarter with money, that is a feature that is, I have yet to see fully. We have a lot of apps, yes, for investments. You have a lot of apps to budget. We have those types of things, but I feel like all of those, there's another layer to that feature that can take it up a notch, that really is more, that does more on an individual level and brings more results and education to it. So there's that. I would say those, I'll keep it to those two examples for now.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. That's the thing about money is helpful, especially where in like college and stuff. Sometimes you're not taught those things until later. Like you kind of have to learn about the bank stuff and find an investment kind of, unless you have someone else, like a mentor, someone helping you. So it would be good to have AI that can help with that in a real way. Because some of these apps are like they're helpful, but they're not fully there like yet, like telling them exactly how to invest and things like that. There's a lot of apps, a lot of commercials, and there's like, oh well, if you take this Myers-Briggs personality test, then it'll tell you exactly who you have to be, or are you an ENFP or INJF, and then you can do kind of thing, which is fine. But like, and or even if you go on Google and you're like, oh, what's the best job for me, or what with this degree, what kind of jobs can I get? And it gives you options and all these things, but you kind of need a AI, or you need like a mentor who really knows you and understands you to figure out what exactly works best for you if you're having some confusion about it. And for people that already have like a really great counselor, a mentor or something, it's a little bit easier. But a lot of us don't have a mentor like that can help us with that. So you kind of have to do it like on your own, especially now in this economy and in the way things are that are changing and everything. Like sometimes we need something else to help us with that, and I think the AI would really help with that. Like how what should I spend this on, what should I invest in, what should I do for this, what as opposed to us just kind of figuring it out as we go along and budgeting and saving in our own ways that sometimes work, sometimes not. The cooking thing would be helpful, especially if you're like me, who's a very lazy cook. I'm not really a big cook type person. So it'd be nice to have something that can cook for me besides some gorgeous, handsome K-drama chef just like in my kitchen, just there kind of thing.
Oh dear.
No, okay, just kidding. Anyway, yes, it'd be great to have an AI doing that. Obviously doing my clothes, because no one likes to do laundry. It's like annoying. I don't like doing it. It sucks. So it'd be nice for that. And then also for me, I have issues falling asleep. In an earlier episode, we talked about PCOS, and we have PCOS, and one of the problems of PCOS is having really bad insomnia or apnea or something. So I have a lot of problems going to sleep and staying asleep. So if I can have an AI that knows exactly how to relax me or deal with my mind to get me to sleep, that would be great. Again, yes, I know there's things you can use, like, oh, you can use lavender, or you can use this sleep and all this stuff. But I'm like, no, I just need you to like push like this part of my body, and then I'm asleep, like kind of thing. Another part of it is and also finding the best job, honing your own skills, things like that. Being an alarm clock. Another thing that I think we can talk about is the health part, like health body scan stuff and hospital stuff. Like I know that, I taught a class once on elderly care and like how they have like home delivery services and things like that that can help elderly people when they live alone or they don't meet a lot of people. But I think this kind of health that can be good for any age, right? Like if you are sick, or you don't know that you're sick, or like you don't know what you have, or you feel sick, you don't know why, it would be good to have an AI that can figure that out for you and kind of do a health scan, so you don't have to go to the hospital or the doctor all the time to check yourself, kind of thing. And because normally how it is, you have to go to the hospital, have to take all these blood tests, urine to all this stuff, and like they have that a little bit, like in terms of like, I know for like if you have diabetes, they have that thing, I think that it pokes you and then you do kind of thing. But I think we need one that's more about the overall body kind of thing. So like, because I think the biggest thing is that like a lot of sickness is this is a health thing that it'll take time to do this, right? But where you get sick, but like you you like, for example, you can be sick for 5 days and you don't know you're sick until the 6th day. You know what I mean? Like, there's some illnesses where you have no idea, like as we've heard with many things, with different illnesses, cancers, COVID, like you're sick as a dog and you don't know. If you had an AI that the moment something is weird with your body, the AI can be like, hey, go and check this, there's something there, go deal with it even before you know, kind of thing. Because I kind of feel that our body, I once had this conversation, I don't know, who was it? I think it was with my dad, I think, and how like our bodies have not like our bodies are up. I mean, if you believe in, I don't know, but like the way that God made our bodies, like he didn't change the way he makes them. Like, I mean, if you believe this, if not, that's cool. Maybe you're not into this, but like, it's as if we're almost made like,
There's no upgrade.
Not like, there's no upgrade. We're just kind of like the earthworms that he made us as, and we still are earthworms. Like, like a metaphor, if you believe in that stuff. But yeah, so it's like God made our bodies in this way, and then humans decided to do all this weird stuff in the world, cool stuff and weird stuff. And I don't think God thought we were going to be like, yeah, there's just plastic, just always in the air, just all the time. And we don't know where it came from. Global warming. Okay. Anyway, the problem is obviously we have all these new kind of sicknesses and diseases and all this stuff and vaccines, blah, blah, blah. And like, I feel like our bodies have sort of kind of adapted, but not fully. And I think that like we need to be able to catch sicknesses faster, kind of thing. Like once we know there's a sickness, it's easier for doctors and people to deal with it. But we haven't figured out a way to like the moment the cancer comes, or the moment the cold, the moment our immune system is like, kind of thing, there's something that can be like, hey, you have to do something. And that happens a lot where we don't know, or some people don't check enough, or we all know how it is, how people are like, if you're a kind of a person that is busy or have a lot to do, you do feel kind of sick, but you're like, it's okay, I'll go to the doctor later. Oh, why does my chest hurt? It's okay. Like we do that sometimes where we're like, I don't feel that, I can still walk. So, you know what I mean? Like people do that, which is not good. Like the moment you feel something, you can, and I think this is mainly, I don't know if this is like a men-female thing, because I feel like women tend to like, I don't know, I feel like we take care of ourselves a little bit, but like we go to the doctor a lot, like for many different things, because like we need to, and obviously for periods, kids, all that stuff. I feel like men sometimes, like it's like their wives have to like make them go, like sometimes, I don't know, but yeah. So I think the main thing to have an AI that the moment you feel any kind of weirdness, and also not only physical, mental also. Like if you're mentally feeling some kind of way, and you are going to a spiral, maybe the AI can be like, hey, chill out, it's fine, you're fine, go outside, go look at the sun,
let's go for a
smell
walk.
the roses, go look at the bees. Why are you in a depressed, like, why are you like on purpose being depressed? Stop. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously it's different with like clinical depression, you know what I mean? But
no, that would be, I like that though.
Stuff,
that would be awesome, actually.
Yeah.
There's now that you say that, I have seen some prototypes of something of what you're speaking to. So I'll also in the show notes and the post, we'll have links to all these things that we're speaking about. Yes, but when it comes to the health thing, that I've seen, there's prototypes where there is a mirror that will be in your bathroom, because of course you're going to see that every day, right? But the mirror has all of these like a feature where it's monitoring all of your vitals. So every day it's kind of doing that body scan you're talking about. So that every day it's able to check, okay, your blood pressure is this, your cholesterol is that, your blood, whatever the different things are supposed to be in our blood. Like it's checking everything to make sure it's fine. Yes. And when there's any difference, it automatically sends that data to your doctor, saying your patient is having this difference happening, and set up an appointment for them. So that level of, even though you yourself may not feel it, it's monitoring and being like, well, actually, this is what's happening in your body, and we've already made your appointments on Wednesday. So that sort of thing, actually, not sure how the price tag on that will be, or I'm not sure if every house is going to have that.
Let's not look at the
but
money
that is
right now.
Exactly. But that is kind of going on the trajectory of what you're speaking to. Now, the deal about mental and emotional health, I love that. I haven't seen a prototype for that.
Yes.
There's been apps for it of like, oh, every day take note of what you're grateful for, or every day be honest about how you feel. But it still doesn't, it's still on you to go outside, even if you haven't been outside for 5 days, kind of thing, right? So that would be, it would be lovely to have an assistant like that, almost like that K-drama we spoke about, Hollow, where that assistant will be like, are you sad today? Let's go outside. Let's go play. Let's go. I know you like
and
this.
And it forces go smell the sun.
Go outside.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. But let's go get some sun. Let's go get your favorite. Let's play your music. Let's try and feel. But it's not to block or pretend as if what you're feeling is not right, but it's trying to get you to not go into complete spiral mode of like, okay, you're valid to feel this way, but let's assist you to get through it, kind of thing.
Yes.
So yes, that would be cool.
Yeah, the mental thing is important too, because the physical thing is a little bit easier to do, kind of thing. But even like simple things, like I had to go to I have like a retainer and I have to fix it or something, and I have to go to the dentist, and I didn't go immediately. I'm just kind of taking my time, like, oh, okay, I'll do it when I have time. If I had an AI, I would have gone by now, like things like that. But with the mental part too, because people always like, I mean, not to get into the dark stuff, but like when people are like, oh, I never knew you were depressed, or people like commit, with like suicide rates and stuff. And people are always like, when anyone dies, they're always like, people tend to like blame people. They're like, where were you? Why didn't they tell you? Blah, blah. But we all know that you can't, especially if you're an adult, you're not with people 24/7, right? Most people are not with people 24/7. And also people are good at pretending. We're good at like being like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm happy, but you're not. You're like in a hole in your body, like in your mind, right? People do that. I know I do that, right? Like people, you figure out ways to hide how you're feeling, and you can't force people to talk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes people are fine, like their lives are fine. And then you find out, oh my gosh, this person did, and I feel like if you had an AI that can kind of, not to leak it to people, but just to be like, hey, this is what you're feeling. And is there any way that I can help you? Or the AI is like so attuned to you that they know how to get you out or speak you out of something that could be a danger to you. And especially in this time, I think I don't know. I feel like community has changed. There's a lot more lonely people nowadays, I think, because especially in certain countries, because we're doing more of this, like doing our own thing and on our own and all this stuff. And it's not a loneliness like, oh my God, I don't have a boyfriend. Like, oh my God, I don't have a girlfriend. No, it's just like a collective loneliness that people feel, because when you're dealing with your healing and on your path to being your true self and all, that can be very lonely, because a lot of that work is you have to do it by yourself, and it's more internal stuff. And that can be lonely and very frightening, right? And sometimes, I mean, I know for me that there are some moments I have that are very dark. And sometimes you don't have, depending on the time, you're like, you can't always call someone to be like, hey, I feel this way. Can you help me? Like, you don't always have that. And sometimes so you go through a lot. There's no time for that. But if you had a personal AI thing, then maybe the AI can be like, and in a gentle way, not in a what are you doing? Like, what are you going through? Tell me right now. Tell me or I'll crush you. Like, not like that. Like, not dramatic, But it'll be nice if the AI can stop you from putting yourself, I guess, in danger, I guess, even though it's annoying, but things like that, or stop you from doing something that could really hurt yourself, right? And I think if you had an AI that did that, it might be easier. Yeah, and not to control you, but just so you're aware, hey, this is what you're going through. These are options that can help you. We're not going to force you, but if, maybe you want to go to the doctor, or maybe you want to go talk to so-and-so, or maybe you want to go outside and maybe you'll feel a bit, kind of thing. And things like that, which I mean, obviously it's very general, broad. There are different types of sickness and depression. It's not as, I make it sound simple. It's not. We know that it isn't. But yeah, and I think that also might help with the views of it too, because when people talk about having physical sicknesses or illnesses, people are very oh my gosh, you're going through, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're going through. But then the moment people talk about their mental health, people act like, oh, that's not real, or what does that mean? Or they make a joke out of it. Even though mental illnesses are just as bad, can be just as horrible and bad as physical. And obviously your mental health affects your physical health. So I don't know why we don't put the same level of importance on, kind of thing. Right. So, and I mean the real stuff, not the commercialized and sensationalized, stuff we talk about. But yeah, anyway, that's neither here nor there, right? But
or everywhere, anywhere, all at once.
Anywhere, all at once. But it'll be cool. All right. I need an assistant AI to help me out, because sometimes we can't always do this on our own, or there's no time, or everyone's asleep, and you're like, oh, I'm going through something. Let me call everyone at 5 a.m. No, because your AI doesn't need sleep. So like if you wake up at 5 a.m. and no one's around, guess what? AI until you can see. I don't know. That's just some of my thoughts on that. But anyway, that's somewhere in the future probably. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed our lovely conversation about AI.
Yes.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts on AI and what you want to do with it and blah, blah, blah. And
Yes. So thank you so much for this conversation. I think it was awesome. We did a part 1 and part 2. I think it's our first time in our series ever to do a part 1, part 2 episode.
So much to talk about.
Yeah. So you listening, thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. As always, please let us know what you think about AI in general from this episode to the previous one. And again, we'll share links to some of the things that we mentioned if you want to look into that and add that to your repertoire of knowledge. Yes. Thank you again. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.